Good morning. How we doing? This is JR from Not We're Just Autistic, and I'm back with another audio and video version of my latest blog post, The Redhead Aspie with long flowing hair and a gorgeous smile. It was about 6 months ago that I got a text message from a friend and colleague. She informed me she had a friend, Vivienne, not her real name, who wanted to start her own blog and learn more about social media and maybe even some podcasting and YouTube. She also mentioned that, like me, Vivienne has Asperger's syndrome, which was something we had in common. Of course, I texted back, just give me your info and we'll get together. Let me be clear on one thing. This was not a setup, a fix up, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. It was simply friendly and informational. A couple of days later, I texted Vivienne to introduce myself and said I was the mutual friend who she wanted to talk to about blogging and such. We agreed to meet at a small coffee shop and a library near her house, and on the morning of the meeting, in true Aspie and social anxiety form, I became so nervous about having to sit down and talk with a complete stranger that I made myself physically ill, so I canceled last minute. It took nearly a month for our schedules to align, and this time we really did meet. The morning of the meeting, we texted each other to describe what we'd be wearing so that we could recognize each other. With a purple goatee and service dog, I'm not real hard to miss. Vivienne said that she had red hair and would be wearing a salmon colored shirt. At the time of the meeting, a gorgeous redhead in a salmon colored shirt walked in and we introduced ourselves, got some drinks, and started talking. Nearly 2 hours later, we finished, yet neither of us said a word about blogging, social media, or any of the other things she wanted to know about. It felt more like a get to know you coffee date than what it was supposed to be. But it wasn't a coffee date. I would later find out that she was in the on again stage of an on again, off again relationship with a guy who lived down the hall from her. I also found out that he was quite jealous of her meeting me and gave her a really hard time about it. You see, Vivienne had her hair colored and straightened the day before our meeting, just for me, even though she never met me. The fact that she picked a very nice and stylish outfit to wear probably didn't help convince the angry guy that there wasn't some interest in a guy she had never met. From the moment she entered the room, I was smitten. She was gorgeous, and as we talked, her intelligence oozed all over the floor. The guy she was seeing had to know how lucky he was to have Vivienne in his life, but as I later found out, he had no respect for who she really was, and that made me both sad and angry. Nearly 4 months of meeting for coffee and talking more about each other and our interests rather than blogging, podcasting, and YouTube made me want to ask her out, but I wasn't sure what phase she was in. Was it the on again, or was it the off again? One day I gathered the courage to tell Vivienne that I would really like to take her out on a date, but she made it clear that she preferred we remain in the friend zone. I was bummed, of course, but I would rather have Vivienne in my life as a friend than not have her in my life at all. Through our discussions, I found out that the guy down the hall treated her like crap and even cheated on her for a full week with an old girlfriend in his apartment down the hall from Vivienne. Yet for some reason, Vivienne went back to him. To him, she was an object that could be replaced. To me, she was a beautiful, intelligent woman who, like me, was on the autism spectrum and so understood what I struggled with because she struggled with many of the same things. I think that Asperger's connection is what made our friendship so strong. She got me, and I got her. Never in my then 53 years of life had I met someone that I connected with so easily and felt so comfortable around, which is why it killed me every time I heard a story about the guy down the hall who didn't appreciate what he had. Eventually, off again remained permanent, but I didn't know about that for a while. Smitten had turned into like, but there was nothing I was going to do about it because I had too much respect for her, even if I had zero respect for the guy down the hall and knew she deserved much better than that. The coffee dates went on for about 4 months, and after about 3 months, we started texting each other. That's when I found out Vivienne was available, but not interested in any type of relationship at the moment. After what she'd been through, I could totally understand where she was coming from. Still, I was elated at the potential acceleration of our friend zone relationship and was content to continue with that for now. I knew there was no hope for us romantically, but I didn't want her out of my life. Then, one night, 4 months after that first meeting at the coffee shop, something changed. Vivienne spent so much time at home that I invited her to join our merry little band of Dungeons and Dragons nerds that played on Friday night at our local comic book shop. The group already had 2 women in it, so I thought she would feel comfortable. She was. So comfortable, in fact, that she brought me a gift that first night. The way it was presented to me, I took it as a romantic gesture, and I would later find out that's exactly what it was meant to be. Her first night playing, not knowing that a grappling hook was actually used for climbing, she picked one up, jammed it in a witch's back, and rolled enough points to kill her. She couldn't understand why everybody was so geeked at the fact that she took a non-weapon and used it to kill something. To her, it was just there. It was pointy and would do damage. After the game, we went to IHOP for pancakes and waffles, and something magical happened. The conversation turned to our feelings about each other, and hers now were beginning to match mine. Could it be true? Were we leaving the friend zone? Yep. And just like that, we were on our first date. By that point, we'd become so close that she was so close to a best friend as I had. I could tell her anything, including things that I didn't tell other friends. Not only could I did. And so did she. That was 2 months ago, and this friendship has blossomed into a true romance. I'm not obsessed with Vivienne, but neither can I get her out of my head. She's helped me in more ways than I can describe, and I've reciprocated. My rock doesn't begin to describe how she held me up when I've stumbled. I've cried in front of her, and I haven't cried, even alone, since my dad died 17 years ago. This beautiful, special Aspie understood me like no one else. Not even my ex-wife understood. And she said the same about me. We've seen each other at our Aspie worst, and we hold each other up, and we're ready to stand on our own again. Where I am weak, she is strong, and vice versa. We are truly a team. We both advocate for autism and rights, so she has joined me as co-host of my podcast and the official title of graphic designer, writer, podcast co-host, head researcher, and voice of reason for my website, Not Weird, Just Autistic. My love for her grows stronger each day, and I finally found that dating someone like myself is indeed what I needed to do years ago. But I'm glad I waited for Vivienne to come around. All the women who came before, all the hurt that came with them, prepared me for my beautiful, talented, intelligent redhead. A version of this post was originally published on Goodman Project 3 years ago. Thank you very much for checking out this podcast and the video, and I hope we see you back. And again, you can follow me at notweirdjustautistic.medium.com. Have a great day.